guys, your boy Benny. If this career is anything, it is unpredictable. You're never quite sure who's going to walk through the door. Keeps you on your toes. Dynamic. No 2 days are alike. I like it that way. Last fall, we received an invitation to go have dinner with Tucker Carlson shortly after his departure from Fox News. This was, of course, a shock to the entire media landscape, and Tucker wanted to talk some shop with me, and we had a wonderful dinner, 3.5 hours long. There was so many fascinating things that I learned from that dinner about what makes Tucker tick. But what I really took away is that Tucker Carlson went through a personal revival and that he has been profoundly affected by moments of deep spirituality and attack from spiritual forces, something that he dove into at the dinner and something that he hasn't shied away from talking about since. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that Tucker wasn't at all ashamed of bringing up in our dinner and privately, and now he's starting to talk about it publicly. This headline is the top of the Daily Mail. Tucker Carlson stuns podcast host as he makes wild claim about who's really running the Biden White House. Well, who could it be? Tucker Carlson stunned a podcast host when he believes Satan himself is really running Biden's White House. Sit down with Tucker for like 2 minutes, and he'll tell you the exact same thing. And this is how you know someone's an honest person, when they say the same thing in private as they say in public. That is the mark of a person who actually believes something and isn't afraid of it and isn't afraid of themselves. Former Fox News host said in a recent move by Washington provide the Ukrainians with landmines to use against Vladimir Putin's troops changed his mind. Carlson said he believed that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was running the show, but after his decision, he believes that there are dark forces at work. Now I'd say Satan is actually in charge. You've got dark forces in charge, he said on the Redacted podcast. There's no justification for using anti-personnel mines in this conflict. Can't hope to be solved. The only effect would be killing innocents, period. That's it. It's the only effect. That's what they've been doing. So it's evil. I think that we should say that. I don't think it's a matter of defending democracy. U.S. approved of sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine to repel Russian invaders inside the country last week. And now it seems like NATO is considering arming Ukraine with nuclear weapons and the capacity to preemptively nuke Russia, which of course would create World War III conditions, handing Donald Trump an unsolvable problem as the world is at nuclear war. Is this the plan? Tucker said so. In a post, the prayers of good people got Donald Trump elected this week. Wars with Russia and Iran are the counterattack. This saying, continuing, Biden gave Ukraine permission to fire American-made missiles, which have a range of 190 miles into Russia last week. Ukraine used some of the weapons to bomb a city with Russia's biggest ammunition production industries south of Moscow. Landmines were provided by Washington to allow to be used near civilians and won't have the same issues as older landmines, still killing people around the world years after conflicts ended. Wow. So how comforting. Look at this. These are the American-made bombs that are now being launched into nuclear-armed and tipped Russia. That is insanity. It's suicidal. Here's Tucker Carlson explaining that Satan is clearly in charge of the White House for its wanton destruction and death that it is now bringing upon the world to try and sabotage Donald Trump.
This was their stance. And now suddenly, within the past week, all of this has changed. So who the hell is running the White House? I mean, you've got, again, I know you're humble about this, but you've got amazing sources there. Like, Biden is not, who is running the White House? Like, who is our de facto president? Is it Antony Blinken right now? Is it Jake Sullivan? Who is doing this?
Well, if you'd asked me yesterday morning, I would have said Tony Blinken, who has been running it since the beginning. But now I would say Satan, because I really think that you've got, dark forces in charge. I mean, there's no justification for using anti-personnel mines in this conflict, which can't hope to be solved with anti-personnel mines, resolved in any way. The only effect of that move is to kill innocents, period. That's it. That's the only effect. And they know that. And so they're doing it anyway, because killing is the point. So it's evil. I think we should say that. I don't think it's a matter of defending democracy. The president of Ukraine is not elected. He's a dictator. He literally passed his term and kept serving. He's a dictator. And that country's shut down a Christian denomination, put priests in jail. Like, how many more markers of dictatorship do you need to call it what it is, which is totalitarian? So everything about it is horrifying. I'm so glad that you mentioned what's happening in the UK and France. There's the complicity of Western European countries in this. Really, I hope books are written about it. But there's something about a dying empire, collapsing demographically, totally pointless finance-based economy, no self-respect at all, nihilism rising. There's something about that mix, the final days of a dying civilization, that causes it to lash out in this kind of orgy of killing for its own sake. It's really the darkest thing I could. It's like you imagine Rome collapsing and the Vandals toppling buildings and having orgies in the streets and all that stuff. Really, it's the end of an empire is more like a kind of suicide, a kind of murder-suicide, where the formerly great power kills itself and then takes a lot of people out as it does. It's like more horrifying than I ever thought. Reading about the end of Rome, and I think it's probably pretty consistent over time. I mean, this is what partition was in India. The Second World War ends, Britain, quote, wins, but really they've lost and they have to give up India, and which they've had for 300 years. And rather than figure out a sort of good way to do it, they just like pull out basically in one day and allow this massive carnage, between Indians, between Sikhs and Muslims and Hindus in India, in which hundreds of thousands of people died. That did not need to happen. Why did the British do that? Because there's something about the end of something great that's always ugly and vicious and violent, hurtful to those around it. There's like deep stuff going on here that I don't, trust me, I do not pretend to understand all of this stuff, but like the behavior of France and particularly Great Britain, which itself has become totalitarian, where lots of Britons, native-born Britons, are in prison for posting social media opinions, and they're in jail for that. Like, that's not a free country. Right. It's a totalitarian country. Same with Canada. Same with New Zealand. Same with Australia. It's like, what the hell is going on? It'll be hundreds of years before some wise person can assess what happened to the English-speaking world, 20 years into the 21st century. But all at once, they decided to kill themselves and a lot of other people on the way out. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's my that's my face too, as Tucker Carlson says. Satan's in charge of the house. Yeah, I mean, is there any other steal, kill, and destroy? You read your Bible. It's like, what's definitionally what Satan's about? Steal, kill, and destroy. These are the things. This is evil. Prima facie. This is what evil looks like. So what's happening in Ukraine is stealing our taxpayer dollars, destroying the flower of youth in two nations that should be able to have had peaceable borders, that we agitated and instigated and staged coup after coup after coup, descending these territories into madness. It's our fault. And ladies and gentlemen, kill. Steal, kill, and destroy. They've destroyed these regions. They've killed the chance for peace. They've killed entire generations here. Ukraine has no more people left, and they've destroyed it. Yeah, it's the nature of evil. Tucker Carlson has been pretty open about his faith and how that is now a guiding North Star for what he believes in. Speaking on the largest platform you possibly can, Joe Rogan's platform recently, Tucker opened up about his faith and his belief in God and how profound that is. Here we go.
And this idea that it's compassionate, that you have compassion to leave these people and to give them aid and to help them and give them clean needles.
But then you've got to think, like, maybe there's something bigger going on, actually. Because there's an entire sector of the economy now that feeds off of human misery. The drug treatment centers that don't work, the homeless advocates who create more homeless, the, migrant workers, American-born aid agencies, workers who, increase illegal immigration and gang activity. No, it's just all this, people are making money off this. The arms manufacturers that help kill people in foreign countries, et cetera, et cetera. There's a vig in all of that. It's a scam, it's a grift, et cetera, et cetera. But there's something more. There are a lot of people who seem to be just for evil for its own sake. And you're maybe all the crazy talk about a spiritual war of good and evil, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's everyone else has always thought that. Maybe.
There are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
But they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, people are better than they naturally are sometimes. You feel compassion for people or true empathy for someone, or you really want to help someone. There's no advantage to you at all. Why are you doing that? It's almost like you're being acted on by good. And all of us have known those moments where we just are cruel for the sake of it, hurt someone for the sake of it. What's that? There's no advantage to us. That's evil acting on us. And I think we're seeing it at scale. And I grew up in the most secular world you could ever grow up in. Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and in a very secular family. And I've never really paid much attention to that. And all of a sudden, not everyone, a lot of people I know who had similar childhoods to mine, similar life experiences, are maybe there is a supernatural realm. Maybe there's more than just what we can see and feel. Maybe life is more than just ordering shit on Amazon. Maybe there's a purpose. Maybe there is this battle between good and evil around us that we can't see, but that we do experience a lot.